Tales of Veldrith, created by Matty Taylor. Book 4, The Beast of Vetrskog.
Chapter 1. The Blood on the Snow.
The sun barely cleared the treetops as a thin light filtered through the skeletal branches of Vetrskog. Snow lay in wind-smoothed drifts across the forest floor, glinting with frost like shattered glass. Silence clung to the air, heavy and brittle. A raven called once, its cry lost in the stillness. At the edge of the tree line, 2 Viking settlers crouched over a half-frozen body. The corpse was barely recognizable as a man, limbs torn and scattered, ribs cracked open like a butchered animal. Blood had soaked into the snow and frozen there in jagged fans of crimson.
Gods.
One of them whispered.
No beast does this.
The other didn't respond. His eyes were fixed on a shape further into the trees. Another body, impaled on a broken branch high above the ground, limbs dangling like a child's marionette. The forest swallowed the rest of the scene in shadow, but it was clear. Something monstrous had passed this way. Back in Jorvik, the mood was no less grim. The village was still young, a rough cluster of longhouses built along the frozen shore, smoke curling from thatched rooftops into the cold grey sky. People whispered around fires, glancing over their shoulders and clutching weapons. Children were kept indoors. Doors were barred at night. Jarl Einar stood at the centre of it all, his thick cloak dusted with snow, his expression carved from stone. Before him knelt the scout who'd returned with the news.
Torn apart, my Jarl.
The scout said.
Not by wolves, not by men. We found Ulf and his hunting party in pieces. Gods be good. It looked like something played with them.
Einar's fist clenched.
And the Anishinaabe? They say the same?
A voice spoke from the crowd. It was old Haldora, the herbalist.
A child came to us. A scraling boy. Barefoot. Half-starved. Said the forest eats people now. Called it a shadow with too many eyes.
Murmurs rippled through the gathered settlers. Some cursed. Others made the sign of Thor or muttered prayers to Freya.
Enough!
Einar growled.
We'll not fall to fear. Whatever stalks our woods must be found and killed.
But even he did not sound convinced. Across the river in the Anishinaabe village of Chigosi, the mood was little better. The elders argued in low voices around the central fire. Young warriors paced. Mothers kept their children close. The missing had names. Taeon, Matowin, Asiban. Hunters who knew the land better than any Viking. Gone without a trace, save for scraps of torn hide and shattered bone. Sigosi, the tribal leader, stood tall despite the burden on his shoulders. His braids were threaded with feathers, his eyes sharp despite his age. He raised a hand and spoke in the old tongue.
The wind brings no answers. The trees give no warnings. This is not a beast of the land. It is something older. Something that should not walk.
An elder woman nodded slowly.
We must speak with the strangers. If their dead match ours, this shadow hunts all of us.
Sigosi said nothing for a moment. Then he turned to the fire and cast a handful of herbs into the flames. Smoke spiraled into the air, grey and bitter.
So be it. If the dead cannot speak, the living must. Send word. We meet with the settlers at dawn.
That night the forest was restless, trees creaked under the weight of snow. A mist rose from the rivers, clinging low to the ground, and in the dark something moved, something tall, gaunt, watching. When it passed, the animals fled. Birds fell silent, and behind it, the snow was stained red.
Chapter 2. The Uneasy Pact.
The Jarl's hall was thick with smoke and tension. Firelight flickered across the carved timbers and fur-lined walls, but no warmth reached the warriors gathered within. Rurik stood with arms crossed, his brow furrowed as voices clashed around him. Accusations flew like arrows. The Skraelings had struck again, some claimed. Others said no beast could do what had been done to those bodies, only dark magic.
We found them torn limb from limb,
said one of Rurik's men, still pale from the discovery.
The bones were cracked open, like something sucked the marrow from them. An animal wouldn't do that,
muttered another. Rurik remained silent, his thoughts astorm. He had seen the remains. Whatever had killed those hunters hadn't done it for food. It had done it for cruelty. The Jarl pounded his staff against the floor.
Enough. We cannot fight shadows. nor can we fight each other. The Anishinaabe claim their own have been attacked, a dozen warriors missing or dead. This creature does not care whose blood it spills.
There was a murmur at that, surprise, anger, uncertainty. The Jarl continued.
Their chief has proposed an agreement, a joint hunt. One of their best will guide us through Vetrskog.
A scoff rose from the crowd
And lead us into a trap?
Rurik finally spoke, his voice low and cold.
If they meant to kill us, they'd have done so by now. We're being hunted, not betrayed.
The Jarl nodded.
Then it is decided. Rurik, you will represent us. The Skraeling hunter Tahu will meet you at the edge of the forest.
Rurik found Tahu waiting beneath a crooked pine, wrapped in furs dyed in earthen tones. The hunter was younger than Rurik had expected, but there was a stillness to him, a coiled patience like a bowstring drawn and ready. His eyes were sharp, watchful and full of mistrust. Neither man spoke at first. The wind moved through the trees like a whisper. Tahu broke the silence.
You came armed.
Rurik nodded.
So did you.
Good. The beast doesn't care what language we speak. It only listens for footsteps.
They started into the woods, the snow crunching beneath their boots. The deeper they went into Vetrskog, the more the silence thickened. Birds were absent. No deer fled from their approach. Even the wind grew timid beneath the towering pines.
How do you track a ghost?
Rurik muttered.
It's not a ghost.
Tahu said.
It's a memory that forgot how to die.
Rurik glanced sideways at him.
That from your stories.
Tahu didn't look away from the trees.
Yes, and stories remember things men forget.
As they moved through the forest, they found signs, gouges in bark taller than a man, prints that shifted from clawed to human and back again, a frozen carcass of a wolf, ripped apart and left untouched. Rurik knelt beside the corpse.
Not eaten, just destroyed.
Tahu nodded.
Territory. It's warning us.
Rurik stood, snow-dusting his fur cloak.
Then let it know we're not afraid.
Tahu's eyes narrowed.
You should be.
That night they made camp in the shelter of a fallen tree. The fire crackled low between them. Rurik sharpened his axe, while Tahu whispered a prayer over a small charm carved from bone.
You think that'll protect you?
Rurik asked, not unkindly. Tahu looked at him through the flames.
No, but the land listens. Better to speak with it than ignore it.
Rurik grunted.
Your people call it a spirit. What is it really?
We have a name. Atkak. It means he who devours the forgotten. Once he was a man. Now he is hunger.
Rurik said nothing for a long time. Then,
If it's a man, it can bleed. And if it can bleed, we can kill it.
Tahu gave a thin smile.
Let's hope it remembers how.
The two hunters sat in silence as the woods pressed in around them. Somewhere in the dark, something watched and waited.
Chapter 3. The Signs in the Trees.
The forest of Vetrskog closed around them like the jaws of some ancient beast, dark, silent, and heavy with the scent of pine and rot. Each step Rurik and Tahu took sent soft flurries of snow swirling upward. The morning sun filtered weakly through the canopy above, casting long bars of pale light across the forest floor. But even the light felt muted here, as if swallowed by the old growth and secrets buried beneath the roots. Rurik's boots crunched against the ice-glazed ground, his axe slung over one shoulder. He said little, keeping his eyes fixed ahead, though every so often he cast a glance toward Tahu, who moved with practiced silence just a few paces ahead. The Skraeling's eyes missed nothing. His gaze flicked from bent twig to faint indentations in the snow, absorbing every sign the forest offered.
Tracks here.
Tahu murmured, crouching beside a shallow depression near a frozen creek bed. He pointed at the ground, where something massive had passed through.
Heavy. Bipedal. Not human.
Rurik knelt beside him and frowned. The footprint was elongated, distorted, with deep impressions where the toes should have been, but they were too wide, almost splayed.
Too large for a man,
He muttered.
Too deliberate for a beast.
Tahu replied. They rose and continued, the wind whispering through the trees like a warning. Soon the forest gave way to a clearing, a ring of ancient standing stones, moss-choked and partially sunken into the earth. But what chilled Rurik wasn't the age of the place. It was what was draped across the stones, Bodies, 3 of them, 2 Vikings, 1 Anishinaabe, strung up like grotesque trophies. Their arms were outstretched, their legs bent at unnatural angles. Guts spilled from torn bellies, frozen mid-drip, and their faces had been stretched into rictus grins, mouths stuffed with snow and moss. Rurik swore beneath his breath. Tahu said nothing, only bowed his head for a brief moment before approaching the nearest corpse. He knelt and reached toward the chest of the fallen Skraeling warrior, fingers brushing the carved pendant that hung from the man's neck.
He was one of my uncle's hunting party.
Tahu said softly.
They vanished 3 nights ago.
Rurik stepped forward, grim.
These 2 were part of the men I trained. We thought they deserted.
They didn't.
Tahu said.
They were hunted.
Rurik's eyes narrowed.
By what?
Tahu didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned and pointed at one of the standing stones. A symbol had been carved into the stone in deep gouges, an old Viking rune, hastily etched, crooked and violent. But around it were older carvings, spirals and clawed shapes, smoothed by time but unmistakably Anishinaabe in origin.
A shrine.
Tahu said.
Long ago, our people made offerings here, prayers to the forest. But this...
He gestured to the runes, the corpses.
This is desecration. Something has been disturbed.
Rurik folded his arms.
You think this is punishment?
Tahu gave him a sidelong look.
Not punishment. A warning. There are stories, Rurik, passed down through our elders, of a man who grew hungry in the heart of winter and ate the flesh of his kin. The spirits twisted him. His hunger became endless. He became something else, something that walks in shadows.
A child's tale.
Rurik grunted.
No.
Tahu said, voice steel-edged.
A legend. Legends endure for a reason.
They stood in silence a moment longer. The clearing was deathly still, even the birds holding their breath. Finally, Rurik sighed.
Whatever it is, it kills both our people, and it's getting bolder.
We must move,
Tahu said.
There is a cave ahead. If it's using this place to hunt, it will leave more signs.
They left the clearing, but Rurik's gaze lingered on the rune scratched across the shrine. Some part of him, deep and superstitious, shuddered. There had been power in that place once, and now it was wrong. As they moved deeper into Vetrskog's heart, the forest grew quieter still. Snow blanketed everything, muffling their steps. High above, the sun vanished behind a shroud of clouds, and a hush fell across the trees like a curtain. Then they saw it. Carved into the trunk of a massive pine was a symbol neither of them recognized, spiraling and jagged, like an eye that had been cracked down the center. The bark around it was blackened, the scent of ash still clinging to the air. Rurik reached out to touch it, the tree pulsed beneath his fingertips, just once like a heartbeat. He snatched his hand away. Tahu stared at the mark and muttered something in his own tongue, a prayer or a ward. Rurik didn't ask for a translation, he didn't need one. The forest was watching, and whatever was out there, whatever thing had once been a man, was waiting for them to follow its trail.
Chapter 4, The Monster's Trail.
The forest of Vetrskog had grown darker, not merely from the thick boughs of pine that arched overhead, blotting out the morning sun, but from something deeper. The shadows felt heavy, watching. The air carried a stillness that pressed into the ears and lungs like weight. Birds had ceased their songs, and no small creatures stirred beneath the snow. Even the wind seemed to tread carefully. Rurik grunted as he pushed aside a curtain of frost-laden branches.
This place smells like rot,
he muttered.
The gods have abandoned it.
Tahu said nothing. He crouched at the base of a tree, fingers brushing lightly against the snow. He scraped away a thin crust of ice, revealing a patch of disturbed earth. His brow furrowed.
Here,
he said, gesturing. Rurik knelt beside him. Beneath the snow lay a track, a footprint distorted, its edges stretched unnaturally. Too long for a man, too narrow for a beast.
It walks upright,
Tahu said.
But see here, the weight shifts like something dragging. It drags a limb or something heavy.
Rurik frowned.
Or it wants us to think that.
Tahu looked up.
You believe it's leading us somewhere?
I believe anything that can slaughter warriors from both our clans without being seen is not a mindless creature.
They rose and followed the prints deeper into the woods. The tracks weaved through the forest, meandering in a way that set Rurik's teeth on edge. They passed trees gouged by claws the length of a handspan. The bark blackened around the wounds. The snow in places was tinged grey, not red, as though something inside the beast bled wrong. By midday, the tracks led them to the edge of a half-frozen lake, ringed by crooked spruce and granite outcroppings. Mist clung to the surface like a veil, rising from cracks in the ice.
I've hunted here before.
Rurik said, scanning the shoreline.
The lake is deep, fed by springs. Strange place.
Tahu knelt again, examining a patch of frozen mud.
Look, more prints, not just the beast.
Rurik joined him and felt his gut twist. The ground was trampled with boot prints, dozens of them. The remains of a camp lay scattered. Torn tents, frozen ashes, broken crates. A torn banner fluttered against a branch, its red dye faded.
Vikings!
Rurik said grimly.
A raiding party.
Tahu nodded.
No blood, no signs of struggle.
They left in silence.
Rurik said.
Or they vanished.
Tahu walked the perimeter, then stopped near the water.
Here, one man went into the lake, no sign he came back.
Rurik joined him, peering into the still water. Through the thin ice, something stirred, a shadow that shifted beneath the surface. He gripped the hilt of his axe. Tahu stood.
This was no ambush. They were taken, one by one, silently.
The mist thickened as the sun began its slow descent. Rurik felt the hair on his neck rise.
It's playing with us,
he said.
It knows we're here.
Tahu stared into the mist.
Then let it watch. We will find it, and we will end it.
From the depths of the forest behind them came a low guttural sound. Not a growl, not a cry. Something in between, like a voice stretched too far, forced through broken lungs. The hunters turned, as the trail was not yet over.
Chapter 5. The Night Attack.
The forest of Vetrskog grew still under the weight of dusk. As twilight fell like a shroud, the wind dropped, and even the trees seemed to hold their breath. Rurik crouched by a dying fire, sharpening his axe with slow, practiced movements. Across the small clearing, Tahu knelt in the snow, stringing his bow with silent focus. They had found no fresh signs of the beast that day, only more symbols scrawled into the bark of trees and the unnerving silence of the wilderness. Birds no longer sang here. Even the wolves gave the woods a wide berth.
This place is wrong,
Tahu murmured, eyes flicking toward the trees. Rurik nodded.
I, like the earth itself, doesn't want us here.
They made camp beneath a rocky overhang, building the fire low to avoid drawing too much attention. Rurik had offered to take first watch, and Tahu hadn't argued. The Viking settled in, his back to the stone wall, axe across his knees. He didn't notice the fog until it was nearly on them. A pale mist crept from between the trees, slow and deliberate, coiling around their camp like a living thing. It muffled the sounds of the forest and twisted the light from the fire. The hair on Rurik's neck rose. He stood.
Tahu.
The hunter was already moving, bow in hand, scanning the tree line. Then came the scream. It was distant but piercing, human and terrified, echoing through the trees. Rurik turned sharply.
A trap.
Tahu grimaced.
a lure.
Movement in the trees. Fast. Too fast. The beast erupted from the fog like a nightmare given form. It towered above them, 9 feet tall, its limbs stretched and unnatural. Its flesh was sickly pale, almost translucent, veined with black ichor that pulsed with a life of its own. Its face was half human, the skin stretched thin, and beneath it, another face leered outward, skeletal and twisted, with too many eyes that glowed like embers. Rurik shouted and swung his axe. The blow connected, but the beast recoiled with impossible speed, vanishing into the fog. A heartbeat later, it was behind them, slashing at Tahu with claws like iron hooks. Tahu rolled away, loosing an arrow that buried itself in the creature's side. It shrieked, the sound rattling the bones in Rurik's skull. The fog thickened, swirling with every step the creature took. Rurik lunged, driving his axe toward its spine. The blade cut into its back, drawing thick black blood that hissed and smoked as it hit the snow.
"It's not of this world,"
he growled. The creature turned, eyes burning, and slammed a clawed fist into Rurik's chest. The Viking flew backward, crashing into a tree with a grunt of pain. Tahu moved in, spear in hand. He feinted, then drove the tip into the creature's side just below the ribcage. The beast howled, wrenching away and crashing through the trees, vanishing into the night. The silence returned as suddenly as it had broken. Rurik groaned, pushing himself to his feet. Tahu knelt near where the creature had bled, examining the ichor.
It burns the ground,
He said.
like fire and shadow mixed.
Rurik joined him, staring at the black smear in the snow.
You said this thing was once a man.
Tahu nodded.
But not anymore.
Rurik looked into the forest, the fog now receding like a tide.
Then whatever it is, it's becoming something worse. Chapter 6, The Lost Ones.
The trail of black ichor led deeper into the forest, where the trees grew unnaturally tall and close, their twisted branches clawing at the sky. Rurik and Tahu moved with caution, the snow muffling their footsteps as they followed the creature's wounded path. The beast bled, but not like anything born of man or animal. Its blood smoked and hissed where it touched the ground, leaving the underbrush blackened and brittle.
We are close now.
Tahu murmured, crouching beside a rock stained with the creature's dark blood. He touched it with the end of his spear and sniffed the steam that rose. His face darkened.
It is heading for the old caves.
Rurik frowned.
What caves?
A sacred place.
Tahu said.
My people sealed them long ago. They are older than the trees and deeper than the roots.
The wind howled overhead and they pressed on. By midday they reached the mouth of the cave, a jagged moor in the side of a hill rimmed with hoarfrost and bones. The stone above the entrance bore ancient carvings, nearly worn away by time, but Rurik recognised one symbol, crude Viking rune, scrawled in black pitch.
Your people have been here.
Tahu said, bitterness in his voice.
So have yours.
Rurik replied, pointing to the charms and woven twigs left near the entrance. They stared at each other a long moment before Rurik added,
We can argue later.
They lit torches and descended. The cave swallowed them whole. The air was thick with rot and wet stone. As they moved deeper, the walls grew slick with condensation, and the sound of dripping water echoed endlessly. But worse than the sounds were the shapes. Piles of bones, some gnawed clean, others still wrapped in flesh. Symbols were carved into the walls, deep and angry, radiating a pulsing wrongness. They found the first body slumped against the wall, eyes wide in death. A young Viking, his chest torn open, his ribs splayed like fingers. Next came a scraling warrior, her limbs bent backward, mouth frozen in a silent scream.
These were recent.
Rurik muttered.
Too recent.
Tahu pointed ahead.
Look.
In the heart of the cavern, a great pit yawned open. Around it lay a ring of corpses, arranged in a ritual pattern, arms outstretched, faces turned skyward, mouths open in agony. The ichor pooled here, thicker and darker. A low moan echoed from below. One of the bodies twitched. Rurik jumped back, axe ready, but it wasn't the beast, it was a man barely alive, skin grey and tight against his bones. His eyes fluttered open.
The hunger,
He rasped.
the cold. It changed him.
Tahu knelt beside him.
Who?
The man blinked slowly.
One of ours. A raider left behind last winter. He ate the dead. And the land. It saw. It punished him. Now he hunts us all.
The curse of the Wendigo.
Tahu whispered.
It's real.
The elder gave one last shuddering breath and died. Rurik stood in stunned silence.
He was a Viking. One of us?
Tahu nodded grimly.
He became something else. But it started with your people.
The pit groaned again, a sound not of rock or beast, but something deeper, something awake.
We must end it.
Rurik said.
Before it spreads.
Tahu agreed.
Before it finds another.
They looked into the dark and prepared themselves. The hunt was no longer about vengeance. It was a race against a growing curse, one that could consume them all.
Chapter 7, The Cave of the Beast.
The mouth of the cave yawned before them, a jagged slash in the frostbitten earth, exhaling warmth that stank of blood and rot. Around it, the trees of Vetrskog grew sparse and twisted, their limbs blackened and bare. Rurik stood at the edge, axe in hand while Tahu knelt to touch the disturbed snow. The hunter's face was grim.
He passed this way.
Tahu murmured.
His blood still sings to the land.
Rurik grunted, his breath pluming in the cold.
Then let's finish what we started.
They had tracked the wounded beast through 2 days of relentless snow and night terrors. Each time they thought they'd lost it, a half-eaten carcass or a trail of steaming black ichor drew them forward again. Now, they stood at the threshold of its lair, deep beneath the earth where ley lines thrummed and shadows whispered. Before they descended, the two warriors performed rites from their own peoples. Rurik drew a protective rune in the snow with the butt of his axe and muttered an oath to Tyr. Tahu scattered tobacco and cedar, calling on the Manitok of the cave to lend him strength. Their eyes met in silent understanding. They no longer needed words to trust each other. The tunnel was narrow at first, forcing them to walk in single file. Moisture dripped from the ceiling. The air was heavy, warm, and filled with a miasma that made their eyes sting. The walls pulsed faintly with ley energy, casting the illusion that they moved within the ribs of some massive beast. As they moved deeper, the cave widened into a vaulted chamber where stalactites hung like fangs, and the earth underfoot became slick with old blood. The remains of victims, Skraeling and Viking alike, were strewn across the floor, arranged in spiraling patterns, bones picked clean and stacked like offerings. Rurik's grip on his axe tightened.
This place is wrong.
It's not a place,
Tahu said.
it's a wound.
Then came the voices. They echoed from every direction. Whispers in the tones of lost loved ones, dead companions, regrets. Rurik heard his sister calling to him. Tahu heard the voice of his grandfather, long buried beneath northern ice. The whispers clawed at their thoughts.
It's him,
Tahu said through gritted teeth.
the beast. He wears their voices like a mask.
The shadows thickened and the creature emerged. It moved with grotesque grace, half man, half horror. 9 feet tall, its skin was stretched thin, veined with black lines that pulsed with malice. Its eyes, too many, glowed with cold fire, and beneath its face, another visage pushed outward, as though the man it had once been still screamed beneath the surface. It didn't attack, not yet.
You came to stop me.
It rasped.
But I was born of your hunger, your conquest, your broken pacts.
You were a man once.
Rurik said, levelling his axe.
I was. I begged the forest for meat. I drank from black roots, and the land answered.
Tahu stepped forward, spear raised.
This land punishes those who feed on their kin. You are no spirit. You are a sickness.
The creature's smile split its face.
Then come, heal me.
It lunged. The chamber erupted into chaos. The beast moved like lightning, slamming Rurik aside with one clawed hand. Tahu dodged and drove his spear forward, grazing the creature's flank. It howled, the sound rattling stone and bone alike. Blows were exchanged in a blur. Rurik's axe bit deep into its shoulder, but the beast didn't bleed. It hissed, the wound fuming black mist. It retaliated, slamming him against the cave wall. Tahu circled, striking when he could, avoiding the beast's gaze that seemed to pierce thought itself. They fought for what felt like hours, but neither man nor monster could claim victory. Then the creature reared back, its body convulsing, limbs stretching, distorting. Its many eyes rolled and split, and from its mouth spilled a shriek that split stone. The cave trembled, stalactites falling.
Fall back.
Tahu shouted.
It's not done with us yet.
Rurik, bleeding and bruised, dragged himself upright. Together they retreated through the corridor, the beast's screeches echoing after them. Outside, beneath the sky lit with northern fire, they collapsed.
It's too strong.
Rurik said, panting.
Not like anything I've faced.
We were unprepared.
Tahu replied.
We need more than strength now. We need spirit. We need the blessing of both our peoples.
They watched the cave, its entrance dark and pulsing with dread. The battle was not over. But now, they knew what they faced. The true hunt had just begun.
Chapter 8. The Death of a Monster.
The wind outside the cave shrieked like a dying thing, but within the stone moor all was silent, but for the drip of water and the rasp of breath. Rurik gripped his axe tightly, his fingers raw from the cold. Tahu stood beside him, his dark eyes fixed on the passage ahead. Their weapons had been blessed by both their peoples, iron kissed by flame and rune, bone and flint dipped in sacred herbs. All that remained was the will to finish what they had begun.
You ready?
Rurik asked, his voice low. Tahu nodded once.
No, but we go.
The air thickened as they moved deeper. The rock walls were slick with frost, pulsing faintly with ley line energy that shimmered in their peripheral vision. Shadows shifted in unnatural ways. Whispers brushed against their ears. Snatches of old voices, memories twisted into barbs.
Mother?
A voice called softly. It was the girl from the raiding camp, or so it sounded.
Ignore it.
Tahu growled.
It steals voices to break you.
They pressed forward, stepping into a chamber vast and open like a cathedral, hewn by ancient hands. Bones were scattered like leaves after a storm. A great pit yawned in the centre, its depths obscured by mist. And there, crouched among the remnants of its victims, was the creature. Its skin sagged over its frame like wet parchment, translucent and veined with black. Its many eyes opened in slow succession, glowing amber in the dimness. The beast rose, impossibly tall, its spine cracking audibly. It had once worn a man's form, that was clear in the grotesque mockery of its face, but now it was something else entirely.
You came.
It croaked, its voice layered with echoes.
You always come. And still, you do not understand.
Rurik stepped forward.
You're no god, no spirit, just a man who gave himself to hunger.
The beast tilted its head.
Is that not what your kind does? Take, devour, conquer. I am the mirror you dare not face.
Talk's over.
Rurik spat. He hurled his axe. The weapon spun end over end, cleaving through the air. But the creature moved with unnatural speed, snatching it mid-flight and crushing the haft in its clawed hand. With a roar that shook the walls, it lunged. Rurik rolled aside, drawing his sayax. Tahu loosed a blessed arrow, striking the creature in one of its eyes. Black ichor sprayed as it shrieked, reeling back. They pressed the attack, blades flashing, shouts echoing in the cave. The beast fought like a whirlwind. It struck Rurik with a backhanded blow, hurling him against the stone. Tahu ducked beneath its swinging limbs, stabbing into its exposed flank, but the blade snapped as it connected with bone.
Tahu!
Rurik shouted, staggering upright.
We need to bind it. Drive it to the pit.
Tahu nodded, retrieving a spear tipped with obsidian and bound in braided hair. Together they baited the creature, weaving through its strikes, drawing it to the edge of the chasm. The creature faltered, favouring one leg. Rurik saw the chance and lunged, slamming his shoulder into its chest. It stumbled.
Now!
Tahu struck low with the spear, driving it into the beast's gut. The creature howled and lost its footing, toppling into the pit with a roar that shook the cavern. The silence after was deafening, but it was not over. A low gurgling laugh rose from the depths, a clawed hand reached for the rim.
Mercy.
The creature whispered in the voice of a weeping child. Tahu met Rurik's gaze. There was no hesitation.
There is no mercy for what you became,
Rurik said, and with one final strike they severed the hand, and the beast fell, vanishing into the mist with a scream that did not echo. The corruption in the air began to fade. The ley lines pulsed gently once more, their rhythm steady and pure. The cave, once thick with rot and despair, began to breathe again. Tahu sank to his knees, exhausted. Rurik sat beside him, wiping blood from his brow.
It is done,
Tahu said quietly. Rurik looked to the pit, then to the sacred weapons that now lay broken beside them. Aye, but the story isn't over. Together they rose and began the long walk back toward the light.
Chapter 9. The Price of Victory.
The rising sun bathed the forest in gold, but there was no warmth in its light. Rurik limped through the underbrush, one arm pressed tightly against his side where the monster's talons had torn through his mail. Every step sent fire up his leg, but he did not slow. Not until he emerged into the clearing where the frozen stream glimmered, where their journey had begun. Behind him, Tahu followed in silence. His expression was unreadable, his face spattered with ash and dried blood. He carried the remains of his shattered spear, its haft bound in a strip of cloth from his own tunic. In the early morning hush, neither spoke. Words now felt too heavy. They had won, but at what cost? The cave had collapsed behind them, burying the creature, what had once been a man, beneath ice and stone. The air had changed in that moment. The rot and whispers vanished, and the eerie pulse of the ley lines dulled to a quiet thrum. The curse was broken, and yet the silence that followed was not relief, it was mourning. They stopped at the edge of the glade. Nearby a raven cawed and took flight, the beat of its wings sharp in the cold air. Rurik sank to one knee, drawing a rough line in the dirt with his dagger. He added 2 runes, one for the dead they'd left behind and one for the beast they'd slain.
It was a man.
He said hoarsely, breaking the silence.
A man like me.
Tahu knelt beside him.
And like me,
He said quietly.
the hunger takes anyone if they are desperate enough.
Rurik turned to him.
Do your people believe it's truly ended?
Tahu shook his head.
No, the land remembers, but it sleeps now. That must be enough.
They made camp near the stream that night, no fire, no songs, just quiet reflection beneath the stars. Rurik stared at the glow of the aurora overhead, shifting like spirits on the wind. His hand rested on the hilt of his sword, but he didn't grip it tightly. He no longer felt the need to. Across the fireless camp, Tahu sat sharpening the broken remains of his spear, shaping it into a smaller blade. After a time, he stood and approached.
When you return to your people,
he said.
what will you tell them?
The truth.
Rurik replied.
Whether they believe me or not is their burden.
Tahu nodded.
The same for mine.
They clasped forearms, warrior to warrior, not as allies of convenience, but as men who had bled together, suffered together, survived. When they returned, each to their own people, there was no parade, no feast. The stories were met with skepticism, with superstition. Some Vikings scoffed at Rurik's tale, claiming no man could become such a monster. Others whispered that the Skraelings had planted dark magic in the woods to frighten them away. And among the Anishinaabe, there were those who spat at the name of the Norsemen, who cursed the treaty and demanded war. Even Tahu's words, calm, measured, true, could not change the hearts of all. But still the raid stopped, the forest grew quiet, and a wary peace held. Rurik and Tahu met once more at the edge of the woods where their paths had first crossed. The spring melt was just beginning, and the waters ran clear through the glade where blood had once stained the snow.
We've done what we can,
Tahu said.
Aye,
Rurik agreed, and
but there's more to come.
Tahu raised an eyebrow, and
another beast.
No,
Rurik said, his gaze distant.
something deeper. This land has teeth we haven't even seen.
Tahu nodded slowly.
Then we'll face it when it comes.
Without another word, they turned and walked in opposite directions. Two men from two worlds, forever changed by what they had faced together. The woods behind them whispered with the breath of spring.
Chapter 10. The Whisper in the Dark.
Far beneath the snow-laced pines of Vetrskog, in the silence of the ruined cave, the last embers of the fire still flickered weakly in the ashes. Ichor-stained stones glistened with frost, and the ancient runes scrawled in blood had faded, leaving only cracks in the earth. All was still. All was quiet. Until the ground pulsed just once, a faint thrum like a heartbeat beneath ice. The creature's corpse lay where it had fallen, sprawled across the ritual stones, its many eyes now dull, its monstrous form frozen in death. Blackened claws curled inward, stiff with rigour, and its stretched, translucent skin clung to bones no longer human. But deep in its chest, where the spear had pierced it through, a single black vein remained slick, glistening with something not yet cold. It twitched. Above, the roots of the forest groaned as the earth remembered. From the cave's shadows, a whisper stirred. Not words, but something older. A vibration. A sigh. Like wind between bones. The ley lines pulsed faintly through the walls, reawakening. What had once been severed now stirred anew, not with corruption, but with curiosity. Energy, ancient and formless, drifted like smoke from the fissures in the rock. It did not mourn, it did not judge, it simply observed. Far to the north, beneath the aurora's flicker, a circle of standing stones trembled. Snow slid from their moss-covered crowns as the symbols carved in their flanks. Runes older than either Viking or Anishinaabe glowed faintly in the night. Owls scattered into the sky. Beneath the earth, roots drew back. A grove, untouched for generations, began to stir. In the dream of a dying shaman, fire devoured a tree with 1,000 faces. In the depths of a frozen lake, something blinked for the first time in an age. Something ancient had died, but something older still had noticed, and it was listening, not with ears, but with memory, not with malice, but with hunger. It did not yet move. It did not yet speak. But its eyes, hidden in the grain of bark, in the ripple of still water, in the hush between heartbeats, had opened. The land was shifting again, and it would not sleep for long. Thank you for listening to the Tales of Veldrith. Books 1 to 5 are now available on Kindle and in paperback. Visit mattytaylor.com for links.